or problems or change society into a peaceful, unified expression.
So you said we're in two timelines. What is the timeline defined as in that?
Two people looking into a mirror, thinking they're seeing the other person, but they're seeing themselves. So there is a mirror, a two-sided mirror down the middle, and they are both looking into it and seeing themselves and what it is they fear the most. And this is from a place of distortion and lack of self-awareness. As only that amount of self-awareness could create the need for such aggression leading on to violence. Violence is not always necessarily a physical act. Right. It can be an emotional act.
Right. You said that a timeline is in a dimension. So what is a timeline?
A timeline is a trajectory of the most collective frequency, the most collective vibration of people believing, thinking and focusing on the same beliefs so as to create it into solid form and call it reality, whilst believing that reality's happened and they have to live it. And this fine-tunes, just like we described a pocket realm, this fine-tunes more or less an invisible line of energy where these people are united in their beliefs and their frequency, though they know it not. And it can be changed instantly.
Individually or collective?
Both. Both. Yes. But the individual can leave that timeline immediately. The collective can change that timeline by all deciding to believe something else at a similar time.
How many does it take? A percentage of society?
It's a percentage dependent on the amount of people involved in the manifestation of that timeline.
What does that mean?
It means that we're not basing it on 1,000 people. We're basing it on 1,000 people and the percentage of that 1,000 tipping the scale for change. So if 51% suddenly decide to believe something different, the timeline will shift.
So it only takes
if 90% believe, the timeline will change.
It only takes 1% over to start shifting it?
Yes.
Oh. What?
We're talking, in a sense, more of an unaware society with lack of self-awareness. When we're talking of a sense of self, a sense of awareness, the knowledge of the continuity of existence, and the work of expanding the mind, the perception, the perspective, and this is the continual work, that takes a smaller percentage to change because there is more power in that higher frequency.
But people needed to see what is happening and face all this darkness for us to shift.
How do you shift in your healing journey?
I get rid of the obstacles in the way, which is my darkness.
And how do you know they're there?
I don't feel good.
Yes. Now, what if it had been normalized to not feel good, as it has been?
Then I
It would take more to realize that it's time to shift something, it's time to change something.
If I didn't know I didn't feel good because I was too complacent or too in the matrix per se.
Per se, yes, a good way to say. If I had no self-awareness, if I did not know that there was a way to feel good, if I did not know that this felt bad, if this was normal,
right,
I would be complacent. I would be comfortably numb.
And that's what I'm seeing in the two Earths, the two timelines, the two factions. Both sides are so certain of their position and so convincing.
And they are so similar that it has to chaotically break up to change the trajectory. So, in some ways, they are both doing the same thing. And when they start doing it differently, great change will happen because of the momentum stirred up. But it will be more like a train crash rather than a slowing of the brakes.
Right.
That not necessarily meaning that there will be mass injury. There already is mass injury within this fight.
Right.
It means that there will be a mass feeling of the pain and acknowledging that I am responsible for my pain that I feel. That will happen.
What is the truth of the matrix that people call the matrix?
The truth is that there really isn't a matrix as such. But it is linked to the holographic reality that we live out our physical incarnation in, so that we may achieve the experience of reality in a physical setting.
And I just saw that the matrix is repeated human thought. Is that true? Because we're creating it.
Yes.
So we're not trapped in a matrix or someone else's simulation. Our thought is doing it.
Our thought is doing it. So let's say we're in a matrix where we are avatars and someone is running the show from another realm.
Right.
We are the ones running the show.
Right.
So we are not having anything done to us.
So you said, let's say that
we are the doers. We are the creators of the show.
So when you say that, it's an example, or is that actually what we're doing?
That's very similar to what we're doing, though we will not share any more details as it is not relative.
Yeah. It's my understanding that we are running the show from the other side, that we created this consciously and we agreed to this and we created it.
Exactly, because let's not forget we are a fragment of Source that created all that is and ever will be. And Source is the great designer. And we are aspects of the great designer.
And will we render down to one timeline?
Not possible.
When you said there was two...
We said that as an example to try and explain...
I understand. But in that...
The dominant energies of the supposed two timelines and two Earths.
I understand that each person's thought, we move from timeline to timeline, and it's self-responsibility. But I mean this big trajectory are we going to come into one more unified thought?
We will be able to not fear difference. We will be able to be self-responsible and not need or seek approval, and not need or seek people to be the same as we are, to feel what we call secure.
What do you mean by self-responsibility in that?
Self-responsibility in the way that I am a living being, a unit of the whole, and every other being is a unit of the whole. Therefore, I will not seek to harm another unit. I will seek to aid and help where it is necessary, and I will not feel threatened by diversity. I will not feel diminished by other people's differences and beliefs and choices. In that there will be a unity, because there will be a recognition that we are all from the same pool of creation. Therefore, we are unconditional love.
And we will all be agreed to sovereignty in that. Self-responsibility, choice, and accountability.
Self-responsibility is a form of sovereignty.
Right.
Without the fear of authority. It's not the opposite to authority. We will drop the program of authority. We will not be battling it anymore, because we will be self-authoritative. I use the sense we as in talking of the human race.
Thank you for clarifying that. What is New Earth?
Sometimes it is easier to say you or them.
Right.
But mostly it feels more connective to say we, as we fully understand the energetics.
Well, you said the other day that you have experienced dark and light. So when you say we, I also take that as that you understand what we're dealing with.
Yes, very much so. I am a future aspect and have experienced dark and light on the physical plane. I will not give more detail, as it is of no relevance at this now moment.
Have you had to clear darkness then?
Of course, yes.
Right. What is New Earth?
New Earth is a projection to encourage the focus of the collective towards a form of utopia, which is what is yearned for by a portion of the population that remember that where they originated from was unconditional love.
Is that portion more than 51%?
One moment. %79 at this moment.
Woohoo! Will old Earth exist? Will people be left behind? Per se?
It is not an easy way to talk of things being left behind.
I understand that, right? It's a different dimension. They'll just be in a different dimension.
They still might appear in your reality, though they will not be able to see what you can see.
And they won't affect our reality.
They will not be able to affect your reality, as they are not now. That is your choice. But the earth is many, as we know. There are parallel earths. So some people will not appear in your reality because they really need the density of what we will call the old earth to carry on with their journey with the potential and the possibility of achieving self-awareness by facing their darkest aspects.
So they need the density of what we call the old earth to move through their lessons that we've already moved through.
Yes. Yes.
Right. How many dimensions do humans live in?
Generally one at a time.
Because that's the point of consciousness.
Because it's less chaotic. It's physical reality needs the density and the dimensions of shape and form, dark and light, to create solid objects.
But you're there and I'm here. How many heres are there for humans?
As many humans as there are heres.